Donington is.
Remember back in the day when you taught me to live and I taught you to pray. We went in the battle together, no matter the weather, we never delayed. You gave me commands, I always obeyed. I never let you go astray. I never thought I'd see the day that you would come and just betray me. Sick of playing silly games, you never love me anyway. You should not have let me get away, cause now I'm moving for my prey. I'm bigger, I'm better, my mind is a weapon. I won't ever let up. You try to break me down and I'ma just get up. They ask me how I did it, I'ma just tell them I rose up. Survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. Staring at you from afar, analyzing every scar. Asking myself how we got here. Remember, this is who we are. I am not here for revenge. I did not come to make amends. Not here to repent for my sins. I just came here to win. I just came here to end. I just came here to fight. Show you everything you said I couldn't be. I became overnight. This for the blood, this is for the tears. This is for my pain and my plight. Two walked in, but only one of us is walking out of here tonight. I'm a survivor. For my life, coming back stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life, coming back stronger. I will arise.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 5 of the ANZ ESeries GT3 Championship. We are live from that most hallowed of circuits. We are at Le Mans. Is there a more iconic duo than Le Mans and GT racing? I don't think there is. But interestingly, it's not the classic enduro style. You know what? It's not even the longest style of racing that we've done in this series. Instead, it's 25 minutes of sprint races, and we've got 2 of them for you. So 50 minutes of racing, 2 25-minute sprint racing, and here alongside of me, calling all of the action, as always, is producer and co-commentator Mitchell Patterson.
Good evening. As always, I'm super happy to be here, and this is one of my very, very favorite tracks. And you know what? Almost nobody knows the actual name of the track. Do you know the name of the track? It's not Le Mans.
Circuit du Saf?
Oh my god, you've got it! It's Circuit de la Saf.
De la Saf.
Yeah. It's not due to copyright reasons in iRacing. It is not Le Mans anymore. It is Circuit de la Saf because Le Mans is owned by WEC.
Yes, and if you are from Motorsport Games and you are listening, we don't like you. Anyway, I'm just gonna assume that's a broad viewpoint held by people in the ANZ ESeries because because iRacing is where I think the 24 hours of Le Mans should be. I think it's where IndyCar should be. And I'm just going to put that viewpoint out there, and I don't think that will be problematic.
It is the best sim racing service that there is.
Well,
truly.
The thing is, the idea of having, other than was it Porsche's relationship with Gran Turismo? I can't remember which one it was. There was a Porsche relationship with one of the video games, so that they only appeared in those. But other than that, exclusivity has not been a thing in sim racing, and I think racing in general, I think all racing games have benefited from that. So to try and bring it back now, to me, feels so anti everything we want from racing games. Do we really want to see racing games going down the path of battling to have certain manufacturers only in their games, or certain circuits only in their games? So if you want to race at certain circuits, you have to go buy a plethora of different sims or different games? Because I do not want that. I don't. So that sounds like feels to me like the first step to going down that path, which is why I'm so vehemently against it.
So, just on the topic of cars, and in particular the ANZ ESeries, do you remember a certain somebody told us that we're going to be driving a certain car this week?
You know what? I don't. You're going to have to remind me.
Last week, when Carl Ridley came in here after finishing on the podium, he said to us that he was going to race the Ford GT at Le Mans next week.
And he's doing it. I can see the Ford next to his name on my timing screen.
The absolute mad lad has actually bought the Ford GT. I don't remember the last time I saw anybody race this thing.
Can we get that on screen? Can we get this relic on screen for us, please?
Alright, Kyle, there you are.
There it is. That's a livery.
Speaking of,
I don't mind it from the side, actually. I take it back. I quite like that livery from the side with the yellow and blue. And from the back, it looks alright. The front took me... I can't get on board with that, though.
Yeah, that's it's atrocious. That's atrocious.
But good on you for bringing out the Ford. We love to see it. Good on you, Carl Ridley. Hoping you have a good race.
Is the Ford actually good at anything?
I don't think it's that bad. I think it's got a worse rep than it deserves. But honestly, I don't really race the GT3s that often, so I'm not the right person to ask that. I know they're not in favour at the moment, but I think the balance of power is better than it has been in quite a while. So I think even though it's not in favour, I do think the differences aren't as pronounced as they have been, say, a couple of years ago.
Look, if there's one thing that sim racers and honestly gamers in general like to do, that is they love to over-exaggerate the meta.
You know what they love? They love a tier list.
They do, don't they?
They do.
And it's never as bad as anyone's
excuse my language.
It is.
Sorry, excuse my language there. It's not. And it's fun. For me, it's a fun, like, pub discussion. It's a fun commentary discussion. Which one's better? How do they all compare and stuff? But I think sometimes we get too wrapped up in that when actually most of the time it's going to be found in your driving anyway.
Yeah. I think the difference maybe occurs in top split. But if you're not in top split, then
although to be fair,
right. Most of the people here are top split. So
yeah. This is obviously a series that's being sponsored by Vermilion, and we have a lot of Vermilion race drivers in all of our series. That's the GT3, the GR86s, the NASCAR, and the Formula Fords. And if you're a Vermilion driver, you're generally pretty decent and going to be towards the top. I think the highest rated non familiar driver in this at the moment is Sam Chapman, who's gone straight up to second in practice. He doesn't do GT3s. He's a GT4 and an 86 driver. He's fallen in love with the slower cars recently and has gotten very quick in them, I must say. I've seen him in other leagues really taking people to town in the GT4. So he's having a really good practice session, and I hope that translates to qualifying for him.
Yeah, fingers crossed it does. We also have the one and only Ken Economos back as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see that class joining into the field.
And now we have some proper liveries showing up now.
That was much better. That was much better. So we'll blame trading paints for the atrocious yellow and blue one.
Oh, it looks like that's actually the end of practice.
That is the end of practice. And I think we've got 12 in the server currently that are racing, which is decent. We might pick up a couple more through qualifying, so hopefully we can get to that 15 number. I think 15 is where you start to have a real healthy grid. I think grids can be viable from sort of 15 to 15 upwards, ideally. We do have a particularly big track tonight, with it being Le Mans, and that's going to make it really interesting because it's a sprint race. We've got about 4-minute laps, and it's 25 minutes. So you're only going to get 6 or 7 laps. So that's not many. That's not many. So you can't afford to have really a week. You can't afford to have a week lap. You just can't. There's not enough laps to make up for it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that affects the racing here tonight, particularly with those really long straights down. Of course, you've got the classic North-South straight with the 2 chicanes in the middle of it. Going to be really interesting to see how that affects the racing. I don't think we're going to get anyone being able to break free of the pack.
Yeah, it's going to be real hard to, with so many like long straights, which is, I guess, kind of a lot of what De La Sarthe is known for. It's going to be really tough to break that toe. And I was thinking about this earlier. In fact, I was talking with Aaron about it before the race. That if you're coming down Mulsanne and you break that toe too early and you jump in front, you're actually going to find yourself at a disadvantage come the end of the straight. Like, it's long enough. And the GTs are, I say slow, I mean like relative to like prototypes, or their LMDHs. Like they're slow enough that you can get in front and then give the toe to the person who you've just overtaken, who will then use that to get back in front of you before you get back into the next corners. Yeah,
you really want to be making an overtake into the second chicane, don't you?
Yeah. I think it's a matter of like not stepping out from behind them too early.
Yeah, I'd agree. And we do have cars on track. They're just going down just heading to the Mulsanne corner now. They're obviously going to take them a while before we actually see any qualifying laps out, because with a 4-minute out lap, 20 minutes qualifying, you're going to be down to 16 minutes by the time you start lap. You're going to be down to 12 by the end of it. These drivers are going to have to fill up because they're not going to have time. Your cut off to get back out and do a flying lap is 8 minutes. You need to leave the pit lane with at least 8 minutes on the board, and probably more like 9. So if you muck up your first lap, you're not going to have time to get around again. You're going to see a lot of people do that lap, and then they're going to tow back to pit lane to give themselves time to do a second lap if they have short fuel, or they're going to be carrying fuel so they can just go around, pound around the track until the end of qualifying.
That's it. What are we looking at? Like 4.5 minutes in qualifying? Does that sound right? For the lap times? What? Jeez, I should know this. What are we looking at?
I think it'd be more like 3-minute 50, 3-minute 55. It'll be below 4 minutes, I believe. But we saw a 3-minute 55 in practice, so I believe it'll be below that, unless my timing screen was lying to me.
Okay.
Which is absolutely possible. Would not rule it out. It is a fickle beast.
Yeah, 354 was the best from Jamie Christensen.
Yeah, so I expect to take a second or two off that, assuming that none of them ran the quali setup in practice.
I mean,
already
we had,
absolutely
20 minutes worth of...
Yes, 20 minutes for quali. Interestingly,
you got 5 laps. You got 5 laps. That's it. That's all you got.
And interestingly, we've got a couple of drivers.
Laps.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of drivers out there that aren't in a tow. What did you got for a
I
tow?
would
You
not.
got
The tow's got to be worth a second here, right? At least.
yeah,
More.
absolutely. Matthew Brunt and Kenny Colomos neither have got anyone near them on track. They're both going down the Morsan Straight. They've evidently got out of their pits all late, and they're not part of that big pack of cars that are going to be
I
able to
don't
get
know,
the
look,
tow. And I think there's going to be a bit of shenanigans with those cars trying to jockey to make sure they're not at the front of the queue.
Look, if I'm Kenny, I think I'm comfortable without a tow. Like Kenny's got pace in hand. We know that. We know this guy. Gran Turismo World Champion. And the risk of catching someone during your qualifying lap, if you're Kenny, is pretty high.
I mean, a bit lower because neither of us are on track, but it's still going to be. You're right. It's still going to be pretty high.
We've seen it happen to him on smaller circuits where he starts behind someone and then he's gapped he's caught that 1 second gap on them before he's finished his first qualifying lap.
Well, by my rating, he's got about, I don't know, 40 seconds to the car ahead. So do you think that's enough of a gap? Do you think he'll be 40 seconds faster than
Who's in front
Mr. Brunt?
Who's in front of Brunt Force Trauma?
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon.
I think he'll be alright. Yeah,
he might have been in trouble if it was someone like Fitzroy Beaumont or one of the really awful drivers like Aaron Obersteller.
Yeah.
40 seconds wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. You'd want at least probably 90 seconds. Around
I mean,
track
we're
like
just
this.
really glad that there's no Connor Nixon here as well for him to be.
Well, I
held
mean,
up by.
yeah, I mean, if he was in here, surely we'd just have yellow flag running the whole time.
Yeah, no one would be able to improve anywhere on track.
Talking about the drivers in the series, let's see if we can go over the current points tally because we're at the pointy end of the season. It's round 5 of 6.
Oh, of course.
So we're running out of time for anyone to try and make a move in this championship. And at the top of the pile at the moment it's no surprise, it's Tao Serrano with 249 points by the sheet that I've got. And then Jamie Christensen is on 236. And that really seems to be the battle for the victory. Behind them, tight battle for the last spot in the top 3 with Matthew Brunt, Beaumont, Obersteller, Bennett, Grubb, all involved in that. No Bennett here tonight, so Bennett's going to drop out of that running. No Grubb, no Miles that I can see.
Bennett was a late starter as well from memory. He missed the first race of the season. So for him to be all the way up in 6th is very impressive.
Yeah, very fast driver. He doesn't like the GT3s though, which is why I don't think he's
that's
back out.
that's not normally his jam.
We
have seen him work magic in that Lamborghini.
Yeah, and as much as we were just taking the mickey, it's very much not based on any sort of truth because he's faster in the cars he doesn't like than I am in the cars that I do like, and it's just jealousy from which I take the mick out of him for.
Oh look, absolutely. There's not a single driver that is racing tonight that is slower than me.
The thing is, we can't even use age as an excuse because Fernando Alonso, he's ruined that excuse for all racing drivers.
He really has. If you're listening, Fernando Alonso, you're no longer my favourite.
You know what? He does a fair bit of iRacing, or at least he did once upon a time. He used to love the Formula Vs. He used to see him in the Formula Vs all the time.
The guys in here have actually driven against it. You know, every now and then you talk about someone that you've driven against, and then everyone's got their story. Personally, mine was beating Jack Doohan in BMW. It was the M4 when it was like BMW fixed. Now he did black flag himself at the start of the race by jumping the start, but I claimed it anyway.
I finished not that far behind. Name. I can picture him. Supercars driver. Chaz Mostert.
Chaz Mostert. Yeah.
Just behind Mostert and one of the Kostekis in F4s at Bathurst. I finished about in a 40-minute race. I finished about 5-6 seconds behind them, which I was pretty happy with.
I ended up overtaking Shane Van Gisbergen on pace once on this very track.
That's impressive. That is very impressive.
You would think so, but I was driving an LMP2 and he was in a GT3 car. So
yeah, and I should say I was helped by one of them spinning. So on the last lap, I believe, while fighting for the lead. So there was not genuine pace that I finished that far behind them. But I'll take it. But overtaking Shane Van Gisbergen, what car was that in?
Well, he was in a GT3 and I was in an LMP2.
Right, so
Yeah, but it's still pace.
less impressive.
I still got him on pace.
It's still pace. You're still in the same race.
Yeah.
And
we were on track, and I went side by side with him down Mulsanne, and yeah.
But these are the kind of stories you get from sim racing, right? And it's not just these guys. Max Verstappen's obviously renowned for his sim racing exploits, and he takes it just as seriously as he does much of his real life racing. Lando Norris has done a bit of
huge on it
sim
as well.
racing.
In fact, it's pretty common to see Norris and Max Verstappen teaming up for events together.
Yeah, a lot of the current F1 drivers do it, and racers from all around the globe. You mentioned Doohan, who's flying the flag pretty proudly for Australia in F2 at the moment. Didn't have a great start to the season, but has really come on strong in the second part of the season so far. Wouldn't rule him out of title contention just yet, although he's left himself a lot to do. We saw the likes of, like we said, Alonso. We saw Massa and his son tend to race a fair bit. Oh no, Barrichello and his son race a fair bit. There's a lot of James. Grosjean's known to do a bit of sim racing. Vettel did once and didn't like it.
Yeah, some of the old guard aren't really into sim racing.
No, I don't think
the relatively, I say younger drivers. Like who am I thinking of? Ricardo, like he doesn't sim race. You know, Hamilton doesn't sim race.
He's got too many other interests, I think. Interesting, we're just seeing Atkinson and Serrano going side by side down the straight. So that was a bit of interesting gamesmanship there, seeing how they both handled that. And we do have the first few lap times on the board. We've got David Milne, a 401.26, who's just been absolutely destroyed by Kenny Economos. 3:56.9, that is the benchmark. Then it's a 4-minute 1.2 for David Milne, 4-minute 3 dead for Matthew Brunt force trauma, and David Atkinson a 4-minute 5.8. Who are watching on screen. Alright, so now we've caught them up with the GT3s. Back to sim racing with real life people.
Yeah. Is that a little off track then?
Might have been.
That was a clip from Atkinson. No, apparently not. Okay, so I can see a couple of off tracks here. Curtis Bird, Ash Davis, Aaron Obersteller, and David Milne.
And we have got less than 8 minutes.
Milne's must have been during the off track as opposed to his whole lap.
We've got less than 8 minutes remaining. If you are not on a lap, you will no longer get a lap in because it takes you, well, about 4 minutes a lap. So if you're not on your out lap, you will not get another lap in. And car 16 Fitzroy Beaumont is in the pits. Looks like he will not be putting in a lap time in this session. Car 27 is Kyle Ridley. He's just put a 3:56.6. He will get another lap in as long as he continues on and has the fuel to do so. But he doesn't need one at the moment because he has just taken preliminary pole position.
That's a huge statement by Kyle.
Yeah, really, really good lap time. Really good lap time. I like to see lap times from a few more people, just to see exactly how competitive that is. We've only really got Kenny Economos, who seems to put in a real representative lap time. But no, you know, we know how fast Economos is, so yeah, that's got to be good. Surely 3/10 ahead of Economos.
Just across the line.
And what's the lap time? Off track? I'm not seeing a lap time pop up.
I'm not seeing any. That can't just be. Is that his? That's not his outlap, was it?
Unless he had a incident that we missed on his first outlap. But this will definitely be a flyer. And Aaron Obersteller's just gone fastest. 3 minutes 56.386.
That's huge. This could be a spicy little one, couldn't it?
And look at the predicted lap time for Sam Chapman as well. Is that a 3:56.5 that I see? He's right in the ballpark. I don't think the 5:26 is going to be competitive.
Yeah, that's a 3:56.3. That's
So,
right on the ballpark, isn't it?
Oh, he's taken that beautifully as well. Go on, Sam.
I think there was maybe a smidge on the exit there that he could have had But, you know, if that would be a real nitpicky on that one. That's a good lap, though. That was very tidy.
And that's a 356.7 from a guy that doesn't race GT3s, really, at the moment. Like I said before, he's getting a bit of reputation for his exploits in the GT4 and the 86. But this is the first time I've seen him in a GT3 in quite a while. So to come out and do a lap time ahead of Kenny Connor-Moss, just behind Carl Ridley, and we're in striking distance of Obersteller, given the lap is 4 minutes long. That's really, really impressive from Sam Chapman.
So we're seeing, so Curtis Bird's coming up towards the Porsche curves at the moment, and I'm seeing a predicted 355.9 from him, which puts him 4/10 in the lead. If he keeps it together.
If he keeps it together. And you've got the trickiest part of the track to come, so we'll stay with him and see what he can put together by the time this lap is over. This is David Atkinson for Battery Award. And Ash Davis has just gone fastest in the sole Mercedes in the session, 356.1, using all of that AMG grunt to put himself onto the preliminary pole. Okay, and he's going to have time for us to come out.
So Bird is looking at a 356 at the moment. If he can keep this together, that's a really aggressive entry to that first chicane. Let's see if he can tidy this all up. On the accelerator, nice and early through there. Plus the line, and what's that, 356? Okay, so it's not, we lost about a half second but still a very good time. And once again, we're seeing everyone pretty close together. I'm most impressed so far with Mr. Obersteller.
Yeah, that's a really, really good lap time, and I might be most impressed with Curtis Bird in the Porsche. Porsche isn't known for its straight line speed, it's known for its ability through the corners, and this is a track that is very, very power sensitive. So that's a stonking lap from Curtis Bird. Carl Ridley as well in the unfancy Ford, going fourth fastest. That's impressive. Already called out Sam Chapman. Basically, anyone above Kenny Connor-Moss is very impressive.
Okay, so
really, that's what I was trying to say.
Right now, but he's also eyeing off at 56.1. But we're seeing a lot of people drop a couple tenths through these last two chicanes. So we'll see if he can tidy this one up.
Which just means that somebody has absolutely nailed it through the chicanes to ruin the predictor.
Well, that's close. That's second.
Second, 356.2.
Yeah, Ash Davis. Jesus. Ash has come out of nowhere. Have we got anyone on track at the moment? Okay, David Atkinson, not being passed.
Well, interestingly, we don't have another Merc to compare him to. So is the Merc maybe the strongest around this track? Dare I say it?
The guys talking about the Merc being really good here. The drivers were talking about which cars they wanted. And a lot of the guys were going with the BMW because we know that that's got really good straight line speed. But I think it was Curtis in the pre-game chat that he was saying that he thought, not Curtis, Ash Davis was saying that he thought the AMG was going to be really strong here. And it was the Meta car maybe a year back. That was the one that everyone was driving in GT3. Now with 2 minutes left to go, is Curtis Bird going to get across the line here?
Where is he on track? So here's car.
He's on Malta.
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to make it. He's heading down to Indianapolis. No, surely not. That's over half the lap to go. Surely once you've gone down Losail Straight isn't even half the lap because that's all flat out pretty much. Whereas you've got all the twiddly bits to go.
It's going to be close, but yeah, I don't think there's enough time. Is there anyone that's ahead of him?
Yeah, to number 220, Kenny Connor-Moss is on track. He's going to get across the line. Number 27 is going to get across the line. Number 27 being Carl Ridley. Well, he's on an out lap according to my... All these drivers on... Kenny Connor-Moss is the one to watch.
Yes, well,
from what I can see.
At the moment, that's a pretty shallow entry into that chicane. No, he's not going for it. Yeah, he was
On
he
pole.
was not on it. What?
He was on pole.
He was. Wow.
5.8. Takes pole by 3 tenths a second, but he's not on it. All right.
I was watching him driving, and it was so smooth. I thought
Yeah.
that he was. I really thought that he was just cruising.
That's what it looks like when you're just pure class.
I think
Which is
that's
why
what-
neither
that's
of
what-
us reckon.
That's what skill is, right?
Yeah, which is why neither of us recognised it. But that was pure class from Kenny Economos. Smooth as you like, just showing that you don't necessarily need to hustle these cars and really beat them into submission to get a lap time. You can work with them, and that's what we saw from Kenny there.
Bird crosses the line as well. Currently 6th. I don't think he's improved at all.
I think he improved his lap time and not his position, maybe. And there you go. That is the end
That's our
of
qualifying session, yeah.
qualifying. And now we're going into the first of our 2 25-minute sprint races. Reverse grid for the second sprint race. Reverse top 10, I think. So there'll be a couple of drivers that miss out. So if you do shove it in the wall, you're going to want to get back out as fast as you can, because it might just be enough to get you into a reverse grid spot if a couple of other people make a mistake. But Kenny Economos will be hoping a lot more than that, because he is starting from pole position. Dominant performance in qualifying. Ash Davis, the surprise of qualifying, in second place in the lone Mercedes. Sam Chapman lines up in the BMW in his debut in this series, I believe, with Tal Serrano alongside him. Next, Aaron Obersteller in the the livery that you're really going to be able to spot on track. And then Curtis Bird alongside him in another colourful livery, one of only 2 Porsches. We've then got the Ford GT40 of Carl Ridley in the classic Golf livery, and the Porsche of David Milne on row 4. Row 5 is Matthew Brunt with David Atkinson alongside him as one of only 2 Ferraris. Then behind them is Jamie Christensen and Fitzroy Beaumont, neither of whom set a lap time in qualifying. So it's going to be really interesting to see what pace Christensen and Beaumont have got, given they didn't put a lap time in qualifying. I dare say they'll make their way up the grid a little bit, but with so much class in the grid, it's going to be hard for them to make too many positions. And we're now just going to wait for the drivers to get their traditional safety briefing from Ben Faulkner, who is the head of the ANZ ESeries. He is the mastermind that has put all of this together. And if you're listening and you want to get involved in the ANZ ESeries, you can sign up on our website. Entries remain open throughout the season. I'm sure if you were to message Ben, you could get get a discount for joining so late, and then be ready to join us when season 3 inevitably kicks off, because we've only got a few more weeks, sadly, of our initial ANZ ESeries. It's kind of weird. It's the first season of ANZ ESeries, but the second season being run by Vermilion. Change of name, change of brand for season 2 to try and distinguish it from Vermilion Racing, but still very much run by and supported by Vermilion Racing Team and all of their sponsors, which you can see being rotated in the bottom left, including yourself, Mitch, who runs a detailing business in Newcastle.
Yeah, if you happen to be watching and you're in Newcastle, definitely give us a call. I think we're pretty good.
It's a small subsection. The amount of people watching ANZ ESeries and the amount of people that live in Newcastle and require detailing services. But
I did find
you never
that,
know.
Young Oliver Patterson literally lives within shouting distance of my house, like literally within shouting distance of my house.
Oh, so is he one of the kids that you were gonna yell at to get off your lawn?
No, I think he's a little older. I think he's a little bit older than that.
Is he? Is he one of the older ones?
I walked out onto my veranda. We were in voice chat, and I walked out on my veranda, and I told him to go outside at the same time. Like, I'm gonna yell, and you let me know if you can hear me. And sure enough, he heard me. That's how close young Oliver lives to me.
That's fantastic. And I tell you what, if you live anywhere near the Circuit de la Sarthe, you are about to hear the roar of 12 GT3 engines going down the Mulsanne Straight, because the safety car is leading them away as we speak. Eventually, the safety car will peel away, and Kenny Economos will lead the grid. Got a little bit of time until then, because they got to get through the Porsche curves and the Corvette curves before they get to the start-finish line.
Yeah, we've got a good minute worth of chill.
Yeah, we got a bit of time, so we'll thank. I'd like to actually take a moment to thank Ben for all the work he does for the ANZ series and put it all together. It's been a lot of fun bringing you the broadcasts. We've got another few weeks left, so this is round 5 of the GT3s. We've then got round 5 of the Formula Fords to bring you, and then round 6 of the GT3s and the Formula Fords. So 3 more weeks of ANZ series action for you, and I'm sure we'll bring you word of next season as soon as we get it. As soon as Ben's got some time to put towards that, because of course he's got his own racing and other things that he's got to take care of. So we'll bring you that information as soon as we get it. But it's getting towards the pointy end of the season now, and Kenny Moss and Ash Davis are really going to want to go for this win.
Yeah, I think we have been pretty light on details about next season so far. I haven't heard anything myself, but I am pretty keen.
Early days. Yeah, I'm keen. I'm keen to see what if we stick with the current selection of series, whether we twist with a couple of them and swap around the cars, whether we swap around the days at all. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it's fair to say we didn't quite get the numbers we were hoping for this season, but it is the first season doing this, so we're hopeful that we'll still be able to grow and get more numbers. And I mean, look at this, 12 cars. That's not bad, and it's been really high quality racing anyway.
Alright, so the safety car is in, so we're on Kenny now, and it looks like everybody is going now. We're moving.
Yeah, so it's Conor Moss followed by Davies, followed by Chapman. And if you're Conor Moss, do you want to lead going on to the Mulsanne straight?
I think there's enough time here for him to build a little bit of a gap.
Well, I think we're going to find out. Currently, the gap is 0.4, but they've got a big 0.6 even, and then 1.2 down to Sam Chapman. Not a big enough gap yet. He's only got a couple of corners before they get into the Mulsanne straight, so I'm not sure he's going to have done it. Is there any gaps in this field? No, I think the whole field's pretty much head to toe. David Atkinson perhaps falling a little bit behind at the back of the field. He's 1.2 seconds off Beaumont, but otherwise no real big gaps in that field, so I think it's going to be very, very tight by the time we get to the end of the Mulsanne straight. And that's who's that? That's a really cool car. I think that might be Obersteller. That's Ridley. Ridley and Obersteller having a collision. We're going to have to get a replay of that. We've got plenty of time while they get down the straight. That's 2 cars side by side. I think that's Rano and Chapman going side by side for 3rd place. Further down in the pack, that is Beaumont and Brunt side by side, I believe, and Christensen and Mill. But so far, Obersteller still in the lead of this race. Then it's Davies in 2nd, right behind him. Only 14 meters separating the 2 cars. Not far at all when they're traveling at the speeds they're going. Serrano is in 3rd, 1.1 seconds behind Davis. And Chapman 1.4 seconds, sorry, 1 second behind Davis. And then Chapman another 3 tenths back. And now they're side by side. Further in the race, Ash Davies alongside Kenny Moss. And he gets it done. Gets it done into the 2nd chicane on the Mulsanne straight. Ash Davis leads this race in the Mercedes.
Well, now, you were asking about who's got the advantage and did you want to be leading? Well, Ash Davis is in front, but now who's got the advantage? It's Kenny, right?
Surely, I think that the BMW, just judging by the way what people have been choosing to drive this series, I think the BMW will be faster through the corners. I think he will have the advantage through the Porsche curves, the Corvette curves, and the Ford chicanes, but is that going to be enough if Ash Davis has got that grunt on the straights? I don't know. And Ash Davis, he's driving the wheels off that thing, isn't he? So close to taking up.
This is one run down to Indy, and Kenny's got the toe.
And what we're seeing here is we're seeing the top 4 really break away from the field. We've got Davis, Moss, Serrano, and Chapman. Only a second, 1.2 seconds between the 4 of them, and then another couple of seconds back to Bird. So there's a real separation there between the top 4 and the rest of the field.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. It's so hard. They're so close. We've got about a half second here. Although Tao is right on Kenny's butt at the moment, so anything could happen. But we will take you to that Aaron Obersteller and Ridley incident, just so we can find out exactly what's happened there.
Just of course on the first lap, given that we are still on the first lap. That's Oberstell in the pit lane. So this must be after the incident. I think this is live pictures, is it not?
Okay, here we go. This is it here. So we're on board with Oversteller. Oh, just a bit of sideways action from Oversteller, and it looks like Ridley just got caught up in it.
Yeah, so really the unwilling participant there. I mean, not that Oversteller was willing, but he did that to himself, and then yeah, just a sad story for Carl Ridley there getting collected in an incident that really had nothing to do with.
So let's have a look at that from Ridley's cockpit here too. So Oversteller isn't even the car in front of him. Oh, we just chose wrong. That's all that is, isn't it?
It was the less, in one way, it was the less risky maneuver, wasn't it? Rather than trying to put a bunch of extra lockdown on that corner. I think it might have been Roy that if he, tried to go hard right to avoid, he would have hit him. So decided to go the safer option on the outside and just unlucky, just moved too much across the track.
It looks like he was able to get moving again and drive that thing back to the pits too. So.
He was, yes. I've seen that on the track. And no safety car, despite the tow for Oversteller, perhaps deciding that safety car around this track was a bad idea, and Kenny Colomas has just taken the lead from S. Davis. That's what we saw on the screen. Kenny Colomas down the inside of the first chicane. Is Davis going to be able to get back at the second chicane? We'll have to wait and see. Serrano's there to try and pick up the pieces, and just behind Serrano is Sam Chapman. So this is going to be very, very, very tasty. Could end up in a free-wide situation.
Little battle for 14 levels of things.
Now, if you're Tao, do you try and insert yourself in this, or do you try and pick a winner? I think he's trying to pick a winner at the moment. It looks like he might get Kenny. He's down the inside of Kenny Colomas. No, backs out of it just at the last moment.
That's the smart decision. Although I will say, in karting, I think you do that. You send that all day.
He got a really good run though, out of the corner. Kenny capitalised. Going to try and go down the inside as they head down to Mulsanne.
Does he want the
I think he's going to get it done. He's going to get it done, surely. He's got the inside line. It's a really tricky corner, this one.
He's got no toe. And the BMW is, so the Mercedes is just towing Tao down the straight. But the BMW just doesn't have the grunt to get him through.
So, bit of a change in the order. Davis, Serrano, Colomas, Chapman. And there is literally no gap between any of those four cars. They look like one of those toy trains that you give to children with the little string in between, and so that all the trays or the carriages are an equal distance apart. That's what it looks like with these four going around the circuit currently. Although saying that, Serrano's just got a bit closer to Ash Davis. Only a tenth between them. Not going to go for the move here though. How good a job is Davis doing? Like, seriously, can we take a moment to appreciate this? He's in the lead of the race in the Merc. He's fighting Serrano and Kenny Colomas, two of the fastest people in iRacing, and he's leading them, and you know what? He's good value for the lead.
Oh, it looks like Matthew Brunt has had a bit of an issue.
Brunt Force Trauma living up to his name. Carl Ridley's back out on circuit, as is Aaron Oversteller. Aaron Oversteller might have a job to try not to get lapped despite the short race. He's just approaching turn 5 now, whilst these guys approach the Ford chicanes. Brunt and Mill just swapping positions.
Now, on that Oversteller Ridley crash, I haven't seen anything yet from race control, but I'm presuming that there's not going to be. That didn't really look like, to me, the sort of incident that I would expect to see any sort of punishment for.
No, the only question would be, did he put on his brakes? Did he hold his brakes? I think he did from memory, but I'd have to look back across it. Given that he went across the track, that is always the risk. Because
I've just received word from race control that they're being a little bit more stringent on the use of the safety cars, just because of the length of this track. So I would suspect that unless we're seeing like multiple car pileups, that we wouldn't really be expecting a safety car this race. or at least that's the impression that I'm getting.
Yeah, I think unless enough drivers go out of the race that we really don't have much of a race left, I think they'll keep the powder dry on the safety car, because the safety car lap around here is going to take, what, 8 minutes?
Yeah, you lose unless your safety cars are going for hot laps, you're going to lose a lot of time. You know, we only get like, is it six racing laps? So losing any of those behind safety car is pretty savage.
I dare say if they did bring out the safety car, they might floor it down the Mulsanne straight to at least keep the lap times a bit smaller, and then just go very, very cautious through the corners and really slow it down. Because after the Mulsanne straight, the profile of the track is a lot more like a regular track. So I imagine they might just say, hey, maybe don't obey the speed limit down Mulsanne. But I tell you who's not obeying the speed limit down Mulsanne, and that's Connor and Chapman. They're side by side. Chapman looking to flip the switch, flip the script, get past the former GT champion, and he just into third place on his debut in the GT3 series.
Yeah, Chapman's coming in and making a bit of a statement here, isn't he? But Connor is back on him. He's less than a tenth. He's basically pushing him along the straight here. Actually, is he? Is he pushing him? I think
he is. He is. They're working together. They're working together. Trying to catch the top two. Oh, beautiful. Love that. Love seeing that.
Okay. Quick, real talk. I actually don't think that that's allowed in the rules.
Really?
Yeah, I think bump drafting is not allowed in the ANZ ESeries.
We might have to get a ruling from race control on that. If you're listening, Ben, really interested to get your take on that, because it's a really big tactic to use in this race. It could bring Chapman and Connor into the battle for the lead, which they otherwise might not be, because they've fallen enough behind that it's going to be difficult to get back.
Well, they've
get
sort
back
of
in there,
back
isn't
up
it?
a little bit now. Tao went for a little bit of a move on Ash that didn't quite pay off, and that's just allowed Chapman and Economist to squeeze back up. But I can really see that Kenny's racer brain is engaged right now. He's thinking about the overall race rather than his current position, which is fourth. And that's why he's pushing Chapman down the straight. He's like, look, I don't want to risk battling Chapman right now, and then let Sereno and Davis get away from us. Like, we've still got 13 minutes, 14 minutes left in this race, and I don't want to be battling for P3 and P4 at the end of this. I want to be in contention for P1 and P2 as well. So smartly, he's just pushing him down Malson and make a dive.
No, you're absolutely right. And we've got in the commentary box alongside us now, race control for this evening, Ben Faulkner. Ben, bump drafting.
Yeah, we're all good with that. They're allowed to do that as long as they don't cause any incidents, obviously. So as long as they keep it all clean and safe, then we're all good with it.
Fantastic. And give us, I know you gave me a little bit earlier, but seeing as how we're lucky enough to have you in the commentary box during a race, which we've never been blessed with before, quickly talk us through the applications of the safety car while we're at dealer start, because it is a little bit different here.
Yeah, so we're kind of looking just for any really unsafe placement where they just can't move the car. So if they're stuck into the track or something, then we'll call a safety car. It's just because Aaron was off the side of the track, sort of not in any terrible place.
And Ridley was obviously able to drive back around.
Yeah, and just because the track is so long, it'll be half the race before we get around one lap. So
yeah, that's what we were talking about before. That a safety car, like we get 6 racing laps, and losing even just one of them to a safety car is pretty savage. So we're a little bit more conservative with our applications of safety car this week.
And that's Sam Chapman being overtaken by... That was a wonderful move from Kenny Connors around the outside at the chicane. Gets around Sam Chapman. Sam Chapman's going to get the slipstream to help him back through, or will he repay the favour and give him a bit of a bump draft down the straight? We'll have to wait and see. Here he is. Can we see on the screen? No, not close enough to offer the bump pack. He's not really sat directly in the toe. Oh, that's a move for the lead. Tao Serrano is alongside Ash Davis going into chicane. They go side by side. Ash Davis, Tao Serrano, Tao behind him in the black and white entry. Gets a bit of a cutback at the second part of the chicane. He's going to try and get past him on the way down to Masan.
Has he got
Beautiful
the
move
straight
by
line
Tao. I
here
think he's
to
got
keep this. He does.
No,
He's
he's going to have to tuck him behind. Has he? No, he hasn't.
Overlap. He's leading.
Oh, no, he has that. It's
Tao's
Tao.
in the lead of the
Apologies.
race.
He is in the lead of the race. Sorry, it's quite blurry on my screen and I got confused between which car was which. But that is Tao Serrano ahead of Ash Davies. So this is the first time Serrano's been in the lead of the race.
Yeah, it certainly is. I really want to see what this AMG looks like in the tow now, because this is the first time since our first run down Mulsanne that Ash Davis and Mercedes haven't been in the lead. So does it have the straight line speed that we think it does?
Oh, I mean, the evidence today suggests that it does, but we're going to have to wait the better part of a lap, well, half a lap to find out, because they are now approaching Indianapolis and Arnage.
You know, Kenny and Chapman are just starting to drop far back enough that I'm almost considering dropping them out of this battle for first.
Yeah, they're a second back, aren't they? But they haven't looked like closing that gap yet. But with Kenny Colomoss ahead of Sam Chapman now, it'll be interesting to see if that changes.
Yeah, I think Kenny maybe had a little bit more pace, and so perhaps what he was running into was that he couldn't catch back up while following Sam. But I think Sam can perhaps catch back up following Kenny, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Sam might need the tow a little bit more than Kenny does.
Yeah, I think that's my reading on the situation, is that Sam benefits more from the tow, and maybe the tow for Kenny is a net loss. I mean, we saw him give up the opportunity to have the tow in qualifying as well and still put it on pole.
Yeah, I think there might have been just a bit of an incident then for Fitzroy Beaumont. Saw him drop about a couple of seconds on Christensen in quick succession. So either that or perhaps a slowdown, something like that. So that battle for 5th, 6th, and the 7th has separated out a little bit now, with Christensen, Beaumont 2.7 seconds behind Christensen 1.8 behind Bird. So really the only... There's 2 battles on track. There's Serrano, Davis, Colomoss, and Chapman in the battle for the lead, which has tightened up a lot whilst I've been talking. And then the battle between Brunt and Milne. They're the only 2 active battles on track.
Oh,
that's not the racing line.
Yep, that's not where you want to be. I mean, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Like, he hasn't hit anything, but he's just lost a little bit coming up into the Porsche curves.
And can we cut back to the battle at the lead of the race? They're just coming onto the Mulsanne straight. 1 second between Serrano and Davis. Then Colomoss, 0.1 behind Davis. Chapman, 0.8 behind Colomoss. This could be spicy.
Yeah, so we're live again. Tao seems to be making some pretty good distance here. He's... Your 7/10 is not too bad of a gap to be making on Ash Davis in that AMG.
Yeah, I think he's got enough to hold on to the lead to the end of Mulsanne Straight, which would definitely be the biggest lead that we've seen. I don't think anyone's really held it down the Mulsanne Straight, at least not without defending their position. And I don't think Tao's going to have to, such is his advantage currently. But I think Kenny might, Ash might have to defend from Kenny because there's 0.2 of a second between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I think
and I wouldn't bet against Kenny launching a move on the brakes.
I mean, there's 2. I think there's like 3 racing laps. If you're Kenny, you need to get moving now. Like, Tao is starting to pull away, and if Kenny fancies P1, he's got to get in front of Ash quickly.
Yeah, he really, really does. Tao Serrano might have the pace to pull away, you know. He might.
He does, but I think so does... I mean, we know Kenny's got pace. You know, he was top of the charts in qualifying, so I can't help but think that being behind drivers is not great for his overall race. And a quick change there for Christensen and Curtis Bird. And also, while we've got a brief moment, just a big shout out to everybody in chat at the moment. We've got Ben Faulkner, Brad Hayes, the Notorious Stig, Min Dadman, which I believe is Fitzroy Beaumont's mother, Shane Patterson, which is Oliver's father, and well, there's Brad Hayes, we've already mentioned. Hello to everybody. I apologize it's taken us this long to address you all. Thank you so much for joining us. We love having you here.
Yeah, we really do. And that's just reminded me to get the YouTube up so I can see the comments as well. So thanks for the reminder, broadcast pal.
Fitzroy's mother said, I did ask Fitzroy to clean the kitty litter, but that's not what I meant. Oh, Ash has just made a move. Ash has made a move, coming up into the Porsche curves. He's back in the lead.
I did not see that coming. But I should have, because Ash has been phenomenal all race long. And look at Serrano, who's under pressure from Kenny Columbus. A lot of pressure there. And with finally a bit of the track with a bunch of curves, there's actually opportunities to effect an overtake that isn't just going to be a drive-by. Can Columbus get it done as they head towards the Ford chicanes? Or is he going to have to wait for an opportunity, perhaps down the Mawson Straight?
He's not close enough to really make a move here.
And Sam Chapman's just getting a bit detached from this pack now.
Yeah, I think this is what I was worried about for Sam. Was that he really needed someone to keep him in play. Like, Sam's fast, but I think Serrano and Columbus are just on that different level. And apparently Ash Davis too.
354.7 after the race, but he has not got the exit from that chicane right. It's put Tao right on his backside, and I think Tao is going to make that stick. He's going to have to go around the outside here. Can he hold it? The side-by-side go around the corner. He's got the inside line for the next corner. They're going down onto the straight. It's going to be the inside line, but it's going to be so tight going onto it. That's going to mean absolutely nothing, because we are now on the Mulsanne straight, and well, we're going to have to wait a little while before we see who's going to be ahead.
Kenny's actually pushing Ash again down the straight.
Look at the three of them.
They are bumper to bumper. He's pulling out now, so they're looking for it. This is an incredible battle between these three drivers, and this has given it might give Sam Chapman the ability to perhaps catch back up here, or are they just going to keep battling away from him? Do you think?
I think they'll keep battling away from him for now. The three of them are very sensible going to that chicane, going for it. Line of stern, no funny side-by-side business going on there. The good thing for Sam is he's got plenty of lead over the next car. He's got a solid 9.7 gap to the car in fourth. So in fifth even. So fourth place is pretty solidly Sam's, as long as he can keep it on the track. And Ash Davis is now in the lead of this motor race. He's alongside Serrano, just edging ahead. He's got the inside for the chicane. Serrano tucks in behind him. Lead once again goes to Ash Davis. Serrano in second. Columbus in third. Just not able to get past these guys at the moment. It's going to be really, really interesting to see if his behaviour changes on the last lap of the race. And then Sam Chapman just keeping a watching brief, not close enough to get properly involved, but close enough that if there are any battles and they start losing time, or God forbid, any of them start hitting each other, he's going to be there to pick up the pieces.
That's it. All he needs is one of these three very close battling cars to make a mistake, and that's a podium. He doesn't have to. You know what? He could. Who am I thinking of? The speed skater that where everyone else tripped over and he got the gold medal. Stephen Bradbury.
Stephen Bradbury. Yeah.
Yeah. Chapman is looking for a Bradbury here, I think.
I think it's fair to say he's closer to the leaders than Bradbury was.
Yeah, but that was Bradbury's strategy the whole time. He knew he was slower, and his strategy was always to stay behind and try and pick up a... That
was ball from Davis. Sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Did you see that move down the inside? We were watching from the onboard of Kenny Columbus.
That move,
oh,
right.
It does go back, but there's a little bit of contact there, and it's going to put Kenny Columbus up into second place. He's going to get past Ash as well. Ash would not have liked that. He would not have appreciated that tap at... And Tao, losing patience, deciding, I'm going to get to the front of the field again now. I should be at the front. I need to get away from Davis, Columbus, if I'm going to win this motor race. And look at that. Sam is right back in this battle. He's back in the slipstream. As long as he can stay there through this twisty, tight final section of the track, he will be in the running as they go on to potentially the final lap of the race. Depends how long it takes them to get to the flag.
Well, yeah, we've got a minute. We've got a minute 40 left. This is This is white flag for sure.
So they'll have one more racing lap.
That's correct. Yeah, the moment we cross the line, we're on white flag. There's a minute 20 left, so this is our last lap for race 1.
Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be at this point?
I don't want to be Kenny. That AMG looks too quick. I think Kenny's really struggling. I thought the BMW was going to be the car for this track, but he seems to be struggling to, even with tow, to get anything done. Although we did just get a little sideways there, so perhaps Kenny will find himself with a small advantage. But if I want it to be someone, it's Cal. He's a second in front now.
Yeah, he's doing his best job yet of doing the impression of a famous magician and disappearing from everybody in sight. 0.9 of a second up the road. That's going to be eaten into down the Mulsanne Straight, but I don't think it's going to be enough for people to cover all that gap. Surely it might come down to like 4 attempts, but it's not going to be... No one's going to be close enough to launch a maneuver.
I'll tell you what, from this view of... that Chapman looks very scary in the mirrors right now.
He does, doesn't he? He's just backed off a little bit as well. He's going to wait for the second chicane, I reckon. That's the place to do the move. And that gap to Serrano, only down to 0.8. So Serrano looking really good for the victory here right now. Here we go. So we're watching on board. We're watching from Ash Davis, watching Conor Moss behind him.
Oh,
and there's Sam Chapman. There's Sam.
Oh, I hope.
Side by side. It's going to be... No.
Oh!
3-1 is contact. That's Davis off in the murk, sent into the gravel. Was that contact with Conor Moss?
That was contact with someone. And I hope Mr. Faulkner himself is watching, because that might be one of the best, most cinematic shots I've seen in iRacing so far. You've got these 2 cars, and then boom, there's another one off to the right. Let's have another look at that crash.
So it looked like he was getting sandwiched, and then the car just span, didn't it? But I didn't see where the contact came from, so we were really good to get an off-board view and see what's happened there. Should be able to bring you that before they get to the tight and twisty place where any overtakes are likely to happen before the end of the race. So let's watch as they approach the chicane. Of course, it's gonna be... No, this is... No, that's not right.
That is a replay, but that's not the
That's
replay.
afterwards. He's already behind them at this point.
This is it here. Okay.
So they go side by side. Oh, so he moved.
That's on. That looks like it might be on Ash himself.
Ash.
He just
Looked like he might have
moved.
just moved over.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the class of what I would say is a racing incident, but...
And Conor Moss is now behind Davis. Has that come from race control? Or is that a genuine overtake?
No, I'm not sure. Let's go back to live.
So watching live, Chapman's got a 2.1 second gap to these guys. And I tell you what, they're fighting. They're fighting. Conor Moss looking to try and set himself up to try and get down the inside. Davis defending for his life.
I thought he might have had that inside run there. You know, we'll definitely go back and have a look, because I really need to see what happened, whether or not there was some sort of redress there.
We will. We absolutely will. We've got 3 minutes before the start of the next race. There is a warm-up between the 2 races. I double-checked.
Okay, so let's have a look. We'll go back to the part where Ash Davis has his crash.
So that's Conor Moss on the left. Looks very much like he just holds his line and Davis comes across into him.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see it looks like officially that's been called a redress. Yeah, that's been called a redress. Let's have another. I want to catch another angle of this because it's not often I find myself disagreeing with our incredible race control team, our stewards, but.
Can we see it on board from... Yeah, you're reading my mind.
Okay, so we're on board with Ash Davis. Look at him relative to that line, the white line on the side.
So steering wheel is straight, but he definitely... There's a little bit of a bump, isn't there? And it looks like there's a little bit of a bump, and it just shifts the car a little bit right.
We'll have a look. Let's jump on with...
Kenny?
Yeah, with Kenny. We'll have a look from his cockpit as well. How does that change things for you?
Oh! So it's under braking.
Yes, yeah, so... You can see him drifting.
So he's drifting to the right, and then he puts on the brakes, though. So they weren't alongside each other as much as it looks like here. So here, he's not actually alongside, he is behind. He just over, and he starts braking.
I don't... That's... I don't
That's
think that's
harder.
a readdress. I still don't think it does change things a little bit, but I don't... In my opinion, that's not a redress. He had... Aaron didn't... Sorry, not Aaron. Kenny didn't move under brakes. He held his line the whole time. He just has a later braking marker.
Yeah, but let's change this around. So let's say he's right behind him. If you plow into the back of someone, it's generally your fault, right? So I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I don't personally. I'm not convinced it's worthy of a redress or a penalty. But like, if you were right behind him, we wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be saying that's definitely a penalty because he's hit him in the back. So we've actually got Ben himself, so we can get Ben to talk through his reasoning. So Ben, what's the reasoning for the redress and that? We've just been dissecting that collision, and it seems like a really tough decision.
Yeah, it was difficult to look at. We just took it as Kenny didn't have any overlap, and from every other lap we saw Ash breaking that exact same point every time, and then Kenny just broke slightly later and went into the back of him. So it's on him to decide when he has to brake to not hit another car. So
what
he's
do
the
you make though of the last minute move by Ash Davis? Because there was space for Kenny on the right, and Ash at the last minute moves over and then brakes in the empty space that Kenny had set up for himself.
Yeah, there was barely enough space down there, and if it was, I don't know where he would be going. He wouldn't be able to make the corner if he went on the outside there because of the marbles. I don't know. He broke later than he should have and still hit into the back of Ash. Ash is allowed to close the door. He closed the door just before he went on the brakes and positioned his car before turning in the braking zone. So he turned the wheel to open up the corner before he started braking. So he didn't have to leave any gap there for Kenny because he didn't have any overlap.
Yeah, that's definitely like such a hard call for you guys to make. So much respect for being able to make those tough decisions as well.
It was very close to being a racing incident, but just a couple of the So it wouldn't have been a penalty. It probably would have just been a readdress, just from the start, if anything, at maximum. But yeah, Kenny did go to the lengths to redress himself, so we went with the penalty that he gave himself.
Ah, so Kenny redressed himself before
Yeah.
the call was made. That's really good sporting. That's what we like to see, right?
You know what?
We
I've
like
seen
to
Kenny
see
do
drivers.
that before. I've seen Kenny do that before in another one where he readdressed. He's an excellent sportsman. And although I would never find myself racing alongside him, if I had to pick someone, it would be him.
And also, you just don't want the battle to end. It was such a good battle. It went in pretty much the whole race, Kenny versus Ash. It would have been a shame if it ended like that. So by redressing, it gets the chance to actually... We saw them dicing through the last few corners. Probably a better way for it to end.
In fact, Corey in chat actually says that Kenny would have readdressed himself. That's how good of a sport he is, and that was why we were still discussing it, as well.
Yeah, so in some ways, Kenny made your life easier, Ben.
Yeah, we were going to say readdressed, but yeah, he was already on top of it, so good on him for that one.
God, we're lucky to have Mr. Faulkner here himself to jump in. And so we'll need to get you in more often because it's really good to have that sort of interaction with the stewards themselves.
Some would say petitioning. Nah, definitely not petitioning. And we're actually, I think Ben's going to be busy again soon because they're just lining up on the grid now for the second race. Of course, it'll be another safety car start. So we're probably around 30 seconds to a minute, let's say a minute away from the start of the next race. And it will be, I believe, Ridley starting on... Matthew Brunt starting on pole. Then Carl Ridley, then Milne, then Beaumont, Christensen, Bird, Conomos, Davis, Chapman, and Serrano because it is a top 10 reverse grid race. Is my understanding.
Yeah, we do like our reverse grids here.
But we will confirm that for you once the race is underway. And everybody has gridded up.
Well, I see Mr. Ridley in the lead right now, so in that Ford GT.
Yeah, that all tallies pretty much correctly. There you go. Brunt in the lead, Ridley second, Milne third, Beaumont fourth. It's just a quirk of them lining up on a corner as to why Ridley was showing us slightly ahead of Brunt on our screens. But now they've got moving, we can see it is Brunt, Ridley, Milne, Beaumont, Christensen, Bird, Davis, Conomos, Serrano, Chapman, Atkinson, and Oberstella. Really keen to see how this race plays out with those faster drivers at the back. I can't imagine it's going to take them long to make their way to the front, such was their pace in race one. But then you've got Oberstella, who's a bit of a wild card. Christensen actually had the fastest lap last race. So he's got the speed. Could be interesting.
Yeah, so keep in mind the front runners never really had a lap to just like hot lap. Do you know what I mean? They were always battling. They were always fighting the whole time. So,
but if someone like a Christensen can get to the lead early while the others are still making their way through the pack, it's going to make a huge difference if you can get through quickly.
Well, I mean, that does show us that they've got pace. And is this going to be... Could this perhaps be Tao's clean series? He's been hoping for one so far, and he hasn't had one yet.
Maybe. I wouldn't bet against him. Would you bet against him?
I know that they say past performance isn't a predictor of future performance, but I'm finding it hard to ignore the fact that he's been caught up in something, particularly in these reverse grids, every race.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. He's if you could pick an onboard, I think Tao's the one you're going to stay on board with. He's got Conomos and Davis right ahead of him, Chapman right behind him, and a hell of a lot of pace and a propensity for things to happen in the reverse grid. And they are now away. Brunt leads Ridley, leads Milne, leads Beaumont, leads Christensen. They were coming down single file, except there's a bit of a gap from Serrano to Chapman, Chapman, Atkinson, and Oberstella. Forward, looks like Serrano just maybe not aware of what was going on, but he's 2.9 seconds back. And who's that? That was like a Bird going side by side with someone. So that was, we just saw Davis getting past Bird. Ridley's at the front in the BMW. Carl Ridley right behind him in the Ford GT40. You're going to be able to recognise that one very, very quickly. This is the battle pack of Christensen, Beaumont, and Milne. Beaumont at the front of the battle pack. Christensen behind him, and then Milne just dropped back a little bit in the Ferrari. Davis dropped back in the Mercedes. So we're just watching Christensen now. He's in 3rd place, so he's at the...
Looking for a cheeky move up into 2nd
Looking for a cheeky move
He's got
in 2nd
it.
place. He's got past Brunt. Brunt forced Trauma into 3rd place. He's got Beaumont right behind him. One bet against Beaumont, making a move down the 2nd chicane. It's Carl Ridley at the front of the race in the Ford GT40. Then it is Christensen. Then it is Brunt. Then it is Beaumont, and they are all snaking their way down the straight. I'm sure if you listen closely enough, you can hear the telltale hiss of a snake moving around. Look how close it is in that battle for 3rd place. Beaumont looking to get down the inside of Milne. This would be 2 positions lost into chicanes for Milne. And I think Beaumont's got it done.
Yeah, that is Beaumont up into 3rd. I would not put Beaumont out for... I think there's an outside chance of the podium for him, though he has just dropped back down to 4th as Ash Davis moves up into 3rd.
Ash Davis, look how quickly he's moved up through the pack. He's got to be the favourite for this race now. Already up into 3rd place. We saw the pace he had last race. His main competitors from last race have not moved at all. Conor Moss is in 7th. Sorry. Conor Moss is still down there. He's just ahead of Serrano, 1.5 seconds between the two of them after Serrano got a horrible start in the Ferrari, and Chapman was stuck behind Serrano. He's a further 3.1 seconds back. Well, he's 3.1 seconds back from Brunt. For some reason, my screen showing him from Brunt. So he's 1.7 seconds behind Serrano.
So on
We're now on board
right now. Just given Ridley a little bit of space. We might see him. Oh, he's got a lot of pace in hand. Oh, he's actually going for this.
That's looked quite deep, but it's got it done. Bit of a block pass there. And Ridley's going to try and come back up the inside. Evidently went for the cutback. I tell you what, that Ford, it doesn't look good for the corners, does it? It's got straight line speed, but it does not have the cornering speed of the BMWs. You can see why it's not fancy, but Carl Ridley said he was going to drive it, and he is driving it.
And he is driving the wheels off it right now, too.
Well, I think it's not going to be enough. There he is, Christensen. Solidified his lead. Then it's Ridley, then it's Milne. Then it's Beaumont in 4th place. Got some interesting gaps up and down the field. Something's happened to David Milne on the first lap. He's stopped halfway down the Mulsanne straight. We'll have to see if we can figure out what's happened there.
Yeah, I can see a crash. We'll jump back and have a look at what's happening there.
Oh, it looks like he missed the chicane. Broke too late, or was he tapped on the entry?
I think we might have missed a little something. We'll have another look at that.
So we are watching Milne. Oh! Car in front of him just comes over under the brakes, and I don't think there was much Milne could do about that. That was such a dramatic move to the outside of the corner entry.
I want to see that again from his perspective, actually. Okay, so on board with Milne now.
Oh. So Tao came across in front of him and started braking him, and Milne felt like he was going to run into the back of him. And
overreaction by Milne, I think.
it might be. It's very similar to the incident I had in the endurance race I raced in on Sunday. You can just get caught out when the car in front of you brakes and you're not really expecting it.
Alright, this is an incident with Curtis Bird we're about to look at now too.
Hard to call. Very hard to call. So this is Curtis Bird. So this is whilst this occurred while we were watching the replay. So he's behind Tower. He's got brunt force trauma behind him. Slow down. Slow down for Curtis Bird.
Curtis Bird. I'm just not seeing any off tracks for him.
Unless it's a redress.
I haven't seen anything from race control yet. We'll go back live.
So to catch up on what's been happening while we've been looking at this, we have got in the lead of this race Jamie Christensen. He is 2.8 seconds ahead of Ash Davis, who is trying to defend from Carl Ridley in the Ford. So Ash Davis having just got up to second place. Behind Ridley is Beaumont, 0.2 of a second behind the two of them. Then it is Serrano in the black and white Ferrari, 0.9 of a second behind Ridley, 0.7 behind Beaumont. Then it is Conomos, 1.7 seconds behind Serrano. Brunt Force Trauma is 2.2 seconds behind Conomos. 1.2 seconds further back is Sam Chapman. Then Bird is just overtaken Chapman, and then Obersteller is in that battle with Chapman and Bird. So the three of us were in positions, and I think Sam Chapman got the worst of that because he dropped behind Bird and Obersteller whilst I was talking, and the gap already up over a second from Chapman to Obersteller.
I think Chapman may have had a slowdown.
That would make sense. That'd make sense because he was right with right with Tao, because Tao had the slow start.
Okay, so this is Chapman here. Just see what happens. That looks like a slowdown to me.
That's very much a slowdown.
Yeah, he's probably certainly a slowdown. He got from oh jeez, what's
one of the canes. What?
I'm trying to think of what that curve is, but geez, I can't.
Anyway, that's really hurt his race because he's down in 10th position. I would have expected him to be moving up the race. Like we saw, he didn't quite have the out-and-out pace of the top three, but with the slipstream, he was able to stay with him. But he's been hurt this race because he's not gone with them as they've moved up the pack. And it is Christensen who's got a really healthy lead over Ash Davis. It's going to be interesting to see what Davis can do in clean air. Because we saw Christensen, called him out before the start of the race. He had really good pace last lap, and he's not battling at all. So last race, he was actually one of the fastest men on the track. Tao Serrano's just put in the fastest lap of the race. 3:55.7, the only man to go faster than Christensen on the last lap. But Tao is far too far back to make a battle of it, although he has just got past Fitzroy Beaumont to move up into 4th place.
Yeah, Fitzroy falling back a little bit now. He's now got Conomos for company. In terms of the sort of company that we want to keep, that's not it.
Yeah, like you said before, he's a person you want to go racing with. He's a very safe pair of hands. You know you're generally going to get good racing with him, and if he makes a mistake, you know he's going to redress. Also, devilishly quick, not someone you want in your mirrors, because you know he's not going to leave your mirrors for much longer. He will get ahead of you. And now we're just watching Tao make a move on Carl Ridley for 3rd place in this race. Carl Ridley has put up a stout defence in the little Ford that could, but the little Ford that could can't do it any longer, and I think he's about to get swallowed up by another couple of cars before the end of this straight.
I think he was getting, he was literally being pushed there too, by Fitzroy? By Beaumont, I think he was actually giving him that bump draft down the straight too.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these drivers are secretly cheering a little bit for the Ford.
Oh, I'm not even secret. I'm not a driver, but I'm not even secretly cheering for the Ford. Kyle made the statement last week that he was going to bring the Ford to this race, and he's delivering. So I have a mad respect for anyone that willingly decides to subject themselves to the Ford GT.
There's just something so special about seeing a Ford GT40 in the Golf colours racing around this Stella Sarv circuit, right? It's one of those iconic magical things in motor racing. It's like seeing the red Ferrari F1 car going around Monza, right? Around Mugello, when we had Mugello in the off-season, the home of Ferrari. It's just magical moments, and the Ford GT40 around Le Mans is one of those moments, and that is a battle there between Serrano and Ash Davis and Ridley.
He's picking it up. Like, the GT might be a bit of a joke at the moment, but that man there's no laughing matter in that GT. He is bringing it. He saw an opportunity and he took it.
So Serrano was making the move on at Carl Ridley, showed him the door, the way out to the gravel. In doing so, compromised himself and let the Ford just insert itself in the middle of the two of them, like that awkward friend that just keeps popping up that you just don't want to see when you're in a deep and meaningful of your closest. And then that third wheel just comes on and goes, oh, and then you have to stop quickly. You have to stop talking about what you're talking about because you're actually dissing them. And he just popped up in the middle, just like one of those people.
Also, in the background there, our Obersteller passes Bird for P7.
Yes, he has. Good shout there. Good shout there. Curtis Bird does, however, have 1.7 seconds to Sam Chapman, so he's pretty safe in that 8th place currently. Chapman just not with the pace that he had in the first race.
Yeah, as I said, I think he was holding onto the back of these other drivers just because of how strong the toe is here. Oh, Ridley getting a little bit sideways. We'll see if Ash is able to pick anything up from here, but it was a little... Not exactly... That off-camber corner is not a great place to get a pass done. A little bit of a cork in the bottle, in fact. And the amount of pace that's taken out of Ash Davis has actually let Kenny Conomus go past. So little Kyle Ridley's mistake in that Ford GT has actually cost Ash Davis P4.
And the Ferrari of Tao Serrano flashing his lights like mad coming down the straight. Doesn't have anyone in front of them. Christensen is 3.3 seconds ahead, so I don't know if he was just trying to flash them, hoping it glints in his mirrors and puts them off or something, but...
Oh, he might have just been showing off to us.
It could have been just been waving and saying hello. Maybe. He has got a very long straight coming off, and not the most entertaining bit of driving, going down the more side straight.
You know, I would love nothing more than to see Ridley on podium here. I would love that so much. I would love to have him back in here.
And you know what's awesome that we haven't put out? They got the lights on.
Oh, they do too. It's gotten just dark enough for those lights to come on.
It's time to run trial out. I think Carl is going to have a really hard time to get the podium. But saying that, does have a bit of a gap to Davis. So he's just got to keep Colomas behind him. Colomas, who is alongside and now ahead of him, he's got to keep him behind him. And you know what? He's broken a bit early to let Colomas behind him, and actually Davis made up a heap of time in that corner. So I think that break to let Colomas get past has put Davis right on his rear end. And there goes the flashing from Tal Serrano again.
We haven't seen much of Christensen. Look at him. Look at this gap. There's just as big of a gap from Christensen to Tao as there, just as much-ish as there is to Tao and Conomos. This is what I was expecting our battle for first to be here between Christensen, Serrano, and Conomos. And
it's what you've got. Is it everything you dreamed it would be? Or are they too far apart on track?
I think they're a little far apart. We've got 10 minutes left, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but
not many laps remaining. Plenty of time remaining.
And there's not a huge amount of like delta between these drivers as well. So you know, 3 seconds, 2 seconds might be a little hard to make up. As Kyle Ridley battling back in for a second, just a second there, he was back in front of Conomos.
Did David Milne ever get going again, or has he had another incident at the chicane?
I think David Milne, we'll cut to him in a second once Ridley, we'll see what happens between Ridley and Conomos here, as the two are going side by side again, coming up to Indianapolis. But I think he's in the pits. Side by side
on my screen, he is.
Oh, they're going side, like full side by side. Advantage Conomos now as we come to this right-hander.
This is brave from Ridley, because that Ford looked like a bit of a pig in the corners.
Oh, it did. I can't believe how well he's driving that thing. They just went side by side through Indy and then through that little 90-degree right-hander there, and he's still got the advantage. Is this Ford better than maybe we think it is? Have we been memeing on this car? Or is Kyle Ridley just driving the pants off of it?
I think he's just driving the pants off it. We know he's a solid operator. That was actually something special.
Oh, no! Oh, no, we've jinxed him.
No, he's got through.
Okay.
It's clean, he's okay. He must have got enough speed off it to keep it hold it to the inside.
Oh no, Ridley! I'm so devastated for him. I am crushed.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I thought he was going to make it. I just don't see how he's going to get back past them. We were talking about it being a peek through the corners, and it oinked. It oinked at exactly the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see this little battle here, though, between Fitzroy and Ash Davis. So Ash has been filtering back a little bit since the start of this race. Like, he was up in like second or third at some point.
He was up in third.
Yeah, so down in fourth at the moment. He's got Conomos and Beaumont for company. And I think Beaumont here might be playing the role of Chapman last race.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
We actually didn't even talk about Chapman finishing P2. He almost got his Bradbury moment.
Well, I'd argue that he did. He was outside of the podium, and Bradbury onto the podium. I think that counts. I think second place counts.
It's not the gold, but it's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's better than he would have hoped for going on to the final line, I dare say.
Yes, yeah, I would say he was. He probably thought he was out. But we talked about that being an opportunity, and that's one of the things. You can just play it safe and wait for people to trip over each other. That is a legitimate strategy.
And this is Davis and Beaumont going side by side in chicane. He'll hope that ends better than last time Davis went side by side.
That's Davis and Conomos.
And Conomos, apologies. So that's the two of them going side by side down the chicane again, and Conomos coming out ahead without contact this time. And I'll just give a shout out to Sam Chapman, also a handy commentator. He's Mr. Sam Chapman. I've alongside him a few times, and he's a pleasure to commentate alongside against, which is why I cheer for him a little bit in this race. And this is Ash Davis, however, looking to go around the outside. They changed their roles from last time. Davis on the outside, Conomos on the inside. Conomos holds on for another lap. And Beaumont just keeping a watching brief like Chapman did last time, hoping that there's a similar incident between the two of them and he can pick up the pieces. And weaving all over the road is Beaumont. Does he not have enough temperature in his tyres? 2/3 of the way through this race?
I don't know.
Well, it's a bold strategy, Con. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to ask him about that one privately. I mean, he's just adding distance. It's not a whole lot, but he's just making that straight longer than it needs to be. He's pulled away from him as well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason you don't see cars weaving down the straights unless they are trying to warm the tyres. But you do see cars go side by side, and yeah, Davis setting himself up for a move down into Indy.
He's got it so far. We'll see if he can hold on to it. Yeah, looks like Conomos has conceded that one, at least for now. So Davis back up into third. A few tenths clear. So it's not likely that Conomos is going to find himself alongside him coming up into the Porsche curves. But I feel like unless Christensen and Serrano are making a mistake, our battle is really for third place here in this race. The last
yeah, it really is.
Positions.
I agree. It's this battle between Davis and Conomos, which is the one to watch. You've got Beaumont and Ridley just giving a watching brief, each about a second behind the car ahead. They're not actively in the battle, but they're close enough if something goes wrong to mop up and
Ridley
take the pieces.
was 2 seconds behind after his mistake. He's closing up.
He is closing up, and it was a free 57.5 for Ridley last lap though. 357.2 for Beaumont and a 356 dead for Conomos. So out of them, Conomos looking like he had the most pace. Interesting, Sam Chapman, 358.2, faster than Brunt ahead of him, and he's closed that gap up to half a second now, but not the pace that he had last race when he was consistently in the 3-minute 56s, low 56s as well.
That was a 54 by Christensen then as well, for a 54.5. Which is like a full second faster than what we had in qualifying.
Yeah, that's insane, isn't it? Absolutely insane. Tell you what though, Tao was a little bit faster. 354.359 for Tao, but I think Tao must have had a little off track because it hasn't shown up as his fastest, just as his last lap.
He did have an off track, yeah.
He had an off track. Christensen at 54.5, and these guys putting on an absolute masterclass, at least a second faster than everybody else in the field, including Kenny Conomos. Not very often you can say people are a second faster than Kenny Conomos. I wonder if he's just making a little bit too much wing.
It's entirely possible, because I feel like it should be faster down the straights than it is.
I feel like we haven't seen the other BMW struggling nearly so much.
Well, there's no other BMW. Well, I mean, Christensen's clearly in the lead. But we didn't see the BMW being particularly competitive last race.
No. But, I mean, Christensen is doing 354.5s in the BMW at the front of this one. So there's definitely no problem with the pace of the Beamer. Might be a little bit of problem with the pace of the Beamer in Conor Moss's hands with his setup. And I think, given the class of driver, it may be the setup running in. Because just look at it down the straight. We saw last time out, he couldn't make a move stick on Davis, I think it's fair to say. He got in front of him a few times, but Davis managed to get back past, and they're in a race-long battle. Another race-long battle here. Davis gets down the inside, is going to compromise his exit. Might just hold on to that, though. And they'll have
AMG
one
does
more
look
lap
lanky
after this
down the
one.
straights, doesn't it?
It is fast. I think he did say he was just going to strip all the wing off. So, I believe he may have stuck to that plan. But look at Fitzroy. Fitzroy might get past Ashay.
That is an opportunistic move from him, although a little sideways. He's going to pay for that now. Like, the AMG is fast on the straights, so that's pretty much just going to go straight back to Ash Davis, as he just nudges ahead of Fitzroy now. But, you know, you've got to make those moves when they present themselves, and they don't always pay off. But he will now have the toe and maybe an opportunity as they come down into Indy.
And look who it is lurking in the background. It's the little Ford that could. It's everybody's favourite Ford, Carl Ridley. Not far off the battle pack now, only 1.8 seconds off the back of it. He is not out of this. If they keep going side by side like this, that's balls.
Oh, Ridley in the background.
Oh, well.
Oh, the little Ford that couldn't.
There's going to be a gulf between them now.
For anyone not in the know, that is the Golf oil livery. That was a quality car.
He thought he could get into the fight.
Oh no.
Anyway, this is Conor Moss, this is Davis, this is Beaumont, this is the beautiful battle we've been watching, and that is Davis back ahead of Beaumont. On track. Beaumont thought he was going to try and get back past him immediately, but Davis just shut the door on him.
Well, Ridley's still got about 4 seconds on Overstellar, so... Despite the fact that he was sort of catching back up to this battle pack, it doesn't look like it's actually going to cost him. Oh, Aaron Overstellar has fallen back again? Tal Sereno may have crashed? That's not right, is it?
No, I can see Tal Sereno on my minimap still going around. He's going around just fine, still way ahead of Kenny Conor Moss. I think Sam Chapman is right on the tail of Brunt, but that was as expected. That was how it was beforehand. I think we're just seeing the timing screen get a little bit confused by that crash with Carl Ridley, but he has managed to get back on track and keep going. It'll be interesting to see how much damage he's got after that. It looked like he managed to keep him mostly out of the wall. I think Carl Ridley may have stopped. I think he stopped at turn 2.
I think he may have actually crashed.
Or had a spin or something.
Okay, so this is Ridley.
Look at the battle pack behind it. Oh, just got it unsettled on the curb. Oh, it's a bigger incident.
Is that still
going? No.
It is.
The engine's in the front, isn't it?
No, it's a rear engine car.
Is it rear? Is it rear? Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense then. Nothing too critical in the front except the tyres, so as long as he hasn't hurt the suspension, he should get away with that. But Curtis Bird has overtaken him. He's got Matthew Brunt 0.7 of a second behind him, and then 0.2 of a second further back is Chapman. So that's a live 4-car battle. Bird, Ridley, Brunt, and Chapman. And then Sereno has pulled ahead of... So you got Sereno with a decent lead of Conor Moss and Beaumont in battle. Ash Davis fallen out of that battle 2.2 seconds back. So you've got 0.6 of a second between Conor Moss and Beaumont, and then you've got nothing between these 4 cars. You're seeing that on screen now. Carl Ridley trying to defend from Curtis Bird. Curtis Bird currently actually slightly ahead. He's going to have the inside for the chicane. You've got Brunt Force Trauma looking to get up the inside there, and Sam Chapman just looking to do another Brad Beret, but not for the important positions. So it's Bird at the front now, but that Ford looked like it got a better exit, so it'll be interesting to see if he can do something with this. There goes Ridley looking up the inside of Bird. Is he going to get it done? Actually, is he on the inside for the next corner? Yes, he is. They're approaching Mulsanne. Brunt not going to make it free wide. Not going to make it free wide in there. Oh, there's contact.
A little bit of contact.
I think the contact initiated by Bird. Ford getting all squirrely outside of the corner. That's not going to just put... that's not just going to put Bird on this case. That's got Brunt and Chapman interested as well. Brunt and Chapman side by side themselves. Whoever gets the toe of the two cars ahead is going to win that battle. I think it might be Chapman. He's got more of the toe. I can't tell. I think they both got a toe. They both picked their lanes. It's like 2 versus 2 now. Inside versus outside. Bird and Chapman versus Brunt and Ridley. Ridley's going around the outside as Brunt. Oh, Ridley's spin out again. Now that time he's hit the rear. And Brunt struggled around the outside as well. So I think those marbles that we had Ben talk about a little bit earlier on the outside, catching both of those drivers out. So Bird and Chapman, the big winners there. They are in 6th and 7th place. As to what order they're going to cross the finish line, it may change yet, but actually, saying that, Chapman looking a bit too far back, and I think Jamie Christensen is about to cross the line to take an absolutely dominant victory in the second of our 2 races for the night. 6.2 seconds ahead of Tao Serrano, fastest man on the track. Christian takes what seemed to be an easy victory in the end after he hit the lead early on and never looked back. Tao had a few more cars to get past. He had a slow start, made life difficult for himself, but was able to make it for the pack for second. Kenny Economos brings it home in third after a race-long battle with Beaumont and Davies. Beaumont finishes in 4th, getting the better of Ash Davis on the final 2 laps. Davis finishes in 5th in the lone Merc in the field.
So I'm going to be pretty psyched that hopefully we get Economos in here, because I do want to ask him about his setup and whether or not he was running much downforce here. Because the BMW is pretty sprightly on those straights, but it just didn't... I don't know, it didn't look like it this race, did it?
You know, it didn't... Something wasn't... It just... Yeah, something didn't click for Economos this race. It might just have been the driving, but certainly it just didn't look as raceable as the cars around him. Or would that be a fair description?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right to me. Though, if you want to talk about a car that didn't look raceable, Kyle Ridley.
Yeah, that Ford looked like an absolute handful.
When it was on, but it looked like it was just dancing around on a knife edge the whole time, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty quick, but it just wanted to kill him at all times. It's like that really hot and heavy romance with like a crazy person. You're like, this is a lot of fun. This is exciting and there's passion everywhere. But also, I never quite feel safe when they're in the house and there are knives in the kitchen. You know? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the relationship with the Ford is like. A lot of fun, but you never feel safe. And after a while, that wears you down. So... yeah, and he came off second best for that. But he still got, or would have been a half-decent result, except for that final crash, which meant that he actually finished 11th in the end, behind David Atkinson, Aaron Obersteller, and Brunt. So to run through the rest of the order, Bird finished in 6th, Chapman in 7th, Brunt in 8th, Obersteller in 9th, Atkinson in 10th, Ridley in 11th, and Milne was an early casualty with that move we saw into the chicane. So who's your standout for the night? I think Tao's probably got the best overall finish.
Chapman.
Across the 2 races. Chapman very, very good in the first race. Very, very good first race, but couldn't match it in the second.
If it wasn't for Ridley's offs, Ridley would have been my other choice.
He's almost the choice just for being bald.
If you put him in a BMW on this track, I think he does really well. Or the Mercedes or the Ferrari, and I think he's looking at podiums all day long.
Yeah, I think
he was
so.
fighting the whole time with one hand behind his back, and I am nothing short of impressed by that.
I think you're absolutely right. And we've just been joined by the three protagonists of this race. It's your podium for this race: Christensen, Sereno, and Conor Moss. Mitch, take it away.
Gentlemen, firstly, congratulations on your podiums. Now, Kenny, I'll start with you. Liam and I have been talking about the BMW on this track. Going into this, I thought the BMW was going to be really competitive, especially with its speed down the straights relative to some of the other cars. We found ourselves wondering if you were running a little bit of wing in your setup here. Can you talk us through the BMW and just how you configured it for Le Mans tonight?
Hey Mitch, yeah, basically the setup I used had a fair bit of wing to start with, and it was already way too much, so I halved it, and that's what I had for the first race. It was actually pretty good. Like, it felt really stable. I could push as hard as I wanted to, but you know, I was just a sitting duck on the straights, but I could catch up sectors 2 and 3 quite a bit. But I really just couldn't overtake when it mattered. So second race, I just dropped it to 0. Knowing that it was going to be a bit tricky, and it was very hairy. I was just under driving, just trying to keep it on track, and by the end I had a bit of confidence, but it was pretty hairy.
So that was one of the things that we noticed, especially compared to, because you and Ash Davis had a really good few battles, particularly in race 1, and a little bit in race 2 as well. That is particularly down Mulsanne. And coming up towards Indianapolis, he was always just there, like either in your mirrors or alongside you. And you two had some of the best battles that I've seen this race. There was at one point both of you went side by side through Indianapolis, and then I'm not sure what the name of the next corner is. That 90-degree right-hander right after Indy.
Yeah.
And you guys just went side by side the whole time, and then all the way up into the Porsche curves. Just incredible racing, and a credit to both of you to keep it clean. Another question that I have for you is, and now in the race you voluntarily readdressed in Heat 1. How did you feel about that incident?
I really wasn't too sure at the time, and just on what you were saying, props to Ash. We had some great battles and gave room, and I had a great time, and that's what I'm here for at the end of the day. But yeah, that race 1 incident, at the time, I really wasn't too sure. I felt like it was probably a bit of me, or I was somewhat involved in causing that, so I just readdressed it, and as I was readdressing, race control came over the radio to ask me to, so I was a step ahead. And then watching the replay, yeah, I could see that Ash did slightly move over, but I was pretty close anyway. So I don't know. I think it's a bit of both, just a bit of a racing incident, and no real harm done either way because we only lost like 1 spot each in the end. So
yeah, to my eye, that was a racing incident. I mean, yeah, you did sort of go up the back of him, but he also moved right before the braking marker into what, in my opinion, was you had set yourself up a bit of clear space there.
Yeah, he came on and apologized as well. So there's no hard feelings. It was just good racing in the end. Just
I mean, you put 2 cars, you both want the same position. People come together, and everyone has an incredible amount of respect for you, Kenny, and your racecraft, and most importantly, your sportsmanship as well. It was even being talked about in chat before we knew that you had readdressed. I think it was Corey Bennett jumped in chat and said, he's such a good sport, he's probably going to readdress that.
Oh yeah. Corey knows me well, and yeah. Thanks for your words, mate. Much appreciated.
All right, Jamie, winner of race 1. Sorry, winner of race 2. Talk us through to start off with race 1 because we didn't see much of you, though you did end up, I think, with the fastest lap.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do a quali lap because I got 2 slowdowns on both my laps, which you only get like 2 or 3 laps of quali.
Yes, that's right.
Enough fuel into it. So I had to start from the back with Fitzroy, and I mean, I made my way through and then picked up a slowdown on lap 1, I think, and about halfway through the race, realised I didn't have enough fuel to finish a race. So yeah.
Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah.
And you were running the BMW as well. So what we just heard Kenny talk about his setup. What did you bring tonight?
I just used the setup I had for a different track. I didn't have a setup at all.
Do you know what kind of downforce package you're running, or the rear wing?
I didn't change anything on the setup. All I did was just add fuel, which is all I had to do.
And what was the track that it had been set up for?
Spa.
Spa. Okay. There are lots of straights on Spa, but then there is that whole infield section, which is some pretty high-speed corners. So there's a couple ways to be fast on that track. So I was hoping you might see Monza, and then we might have a pretty good idea about the kind of wing you were running on that. But with Spa, there's a couple ways to be quick on that track. So that doesn't really give us too much information. But so other than in race 2, a little bit of battling, you mostly just walked away with this one.
Well, I was lucky that Teo got caught up in a little bit of battling, so I could run away for a little bit. But then he slowly started catching me, and then I'm pretty sure he got a slow down on the last lap.
You actually had, I believe, the fastest lap of the night, and you were like a clear second faster than the best lap anyone set in qualifying as well.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Genuinely, we barely showed you in the race in the second one because you were just so far clear of everyone else. It was a really good performance. You kept it clean, fast, and we just didn't see you.
Yeah, well,
I really wish I had more questions for you tonight, but if you're not making mistakes and you're clearing everyone by the end of the first lap, you're making my job real difficult for me here.
It's all good. I finished the race without going off.
Well, congratulations. Hopefully this will make up for race 1 for you, or heat 1.
Yeah.
All right, Tao. Interesting first race. Lots of battling. And I think you were one of 2 Ferraris, maybe the only Ferrari?
I actually don't know, to be honest. If there's another Ferrari.
One of 2, David Atkinson was also in the Ferrari.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, no, the Ferrari was really good. I mean, it was fastest in a straight line, so it was pretty easy to pass people. And it was pretty easy to defend if you wanted to defend. But yeah, first race was a bit silly, just fighting a bit hard, but here's what it is. Bit of a laugh.
So, what did you think about Ash Davis in the AMG? He was the only person that bought the Mercedes. Did you expect
it's quick.
It to be that quick? Or was Ash just driving the pants off of it?
No, I'd say it's a bit quick here. I'm pretty sure it's the only car that's got a setup for here, like it's the current season. So I'm not surprised it was really strong. I'm pretty sure, like the other boys said, I think we're all running weird setups. So on every other car, so it was a bit of giving and taking with what you could run.
All right, and the setup that you bought for the Ferrari, was that something that you set up, or something that you, like one of the defaults, something that you got from one of the many places where you can get setups?
It's an old Le Mans setup, so but it kind of may as well have not been a setup because of the toe changes this season. It was basically a very different setup.
I'll talk us a little bit through the toe changes. That's not something I'm across.
All of the GT3s now have minimum toe rates on each car. So I think Ferrari's plus 1.5. I think those two are saying the BMW's 0.6. You used to run 0.0, which made the cars a bit more pointy and a bit faster in Australia.
Right. Okay. And we're talking about the toe TOE, not TOW, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, fantastic. So, race 2. Talk me through the race. A little bit. You started almost right from the back, but pretty far back. And you got where were you at the end of lap 1? So top 4?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think I got 1 or 2 spots, but I don't know how far up or down I was.
So,
but
this is your first series, I think, where you haven't had an incident all season.
In like a sprint.
Yeah. Well, the endurance was clean. Yeah, you're right. Your endurance was clean. But in the reverse grids, you've gotten tripped up a couple times, whether or not it was your fault or someone else's. You've just had a little bit of bad luck. So I guess congratulations on having a clean sprint series.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's nice. Like here is obviously it's pretty easy to get through the field because you got such big straights. You can just sort of get the job done before the corner.
Yeah, no real reason to risk going side by side too much.
Nah, I mean you just lose time. You just lose time with the guys in front, which is why race 1 was kind of silly. We're just losing time, just twiddling our thumbs instead of working together a bit. But that's how it goes.
All right. Well, I believe this is going to put you even further ahead in our standings, which I'll bring up now. The exact numbers I don't know because I'm not a mathematician. But you did a pretty good lead on Christensen. Although no, I think you'll definitely be gaining on Christensen because of an unfortunate race 1 for him. So yeah, the lead is definitely going to be extending for you now. So congratulations for that, and once again, thank you to all 3 of you for coming in and racing, and for giving us the chance to have a chat with you post-race.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Liam.
Yeah, so we've heard from our podium finishers for the second race. So now all that's left to do is run through what's coming up for you in the ANZ ESeries, and then say goodbye to all of our friends that have been watching this alongside of us. We know there's been a few of you. We've seen your chats in the YouTube, and I can also see David Milne saying it's not much fun when you get wheel damage in race 2 lap 1. I agree, that is not a great scenario, and there's definitely a bit of love for the Ford, I think, in the chat. So, what's coming up for us in the ANZ E-Series? Well, we have, for starters, tomorrow, the very first time that the NASCARs will be running on a proper circuit. No more ovals this week. We're taking a break from the ovals, and instead, we're going to be at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen for 2 races, 2 20-lap races. That starts with practice at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, qualifying at 7:30. Race 1 will be 5 minutes later, so that will be a closed qualifying, I assume. There'll then be a 5 minutes break before race 2, and of course the post-race interviews, and that will be brought to you live by the alternate commentators. Aaron Obersteller, who didn't have the round he would have wanted in the GT3 tonight, and Connor Nixon. So they'll be with you tomorrow night to bring you all the drama from Watkins Glen. It's the first time for the series on a real track, so I think that could be a little bit of chaos, because Watkins Glen is not an easy track, and it's going to take a lot of patience to muscle these beasts of a car around that track. Then we will return to you next week for round 5 of the Formula Ford, and then round 5 of the GR86. Until me and Mitch see you next, it's a goodbye from us and from everyone else at ANZ E-Series. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.